Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for stopping by, the early morning of Cabin Essence. And today, it's going to be a fun one. I'm going to rate everyone or almost everyone that was allegedly on Epstein's island based on how attractive they are compared to me. Now, of course, besides the Clef Farm, the other reason why I'm doing this is because how are you going to be on Epstein's island and also be chopped? That's literally dumb and homicide, dog. How are you going to be on Epstein's island doing all types of shenanigans with all types of public backlash whilst also being ugly while you're at it? So yeah, today I'm going to critique, analyze, and compare. And for any type of credibility based on what I feel, what you think I know about attractiveness, okay? ChatGPT rated me an 8 out of 10 in terms of looks just this morning. I definitely didn't use edited photos or anything. All right. I go up, I wake up, look into the mirror, and whenever I don't look at the lower end of my body, whenever I'm looking at my face per se, I kind of look at myself and say, my parents didn't do that bad. So yes, my habibis, this is the beautiful list that your attention spans have been waiting for. And already I have put myself over here in the hey, you look really good because I get a lot of those. Not a lot to a certain extent, but on a weekly basis, I get about one or two, which I feel like, is, the bare minimum for a low, hey, you look really good. I'm going to put myself really low over here and kind of like think of this as a low, hey, you look really good, and a high baseline attractive. All right. All right. And one thing I kind of want to enforce over here is that I'm only ranking these guys based off how they looked in their primes. Because if I rate them now, bro, it's gonna get wicked. It's gonna get scary. It's gonna get scary. So yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm sliding anyone here, and I'm giving everyone a fair chance. All right. So first, Donald Trump. Right now, he's the orange guy, kind of chopped, and plus he looked a bit older, so it's kind of weighs him down. But overall, based off how he looked in his prime in the '90s, those were that you can tell those were his heydays. You know what I'm saying? He looked very very nice. All right, very very attractive. But besides the money, I feel like a lot of women would want to pick him up on the street, which sounds kind of predatory, but whatever. Overall, I gave him a high baseline attractive. I see a low, hey, you look really good. A very low, hey, you look really good. I feel like he's not really above me, but for some people they would say yes, and for some people they would say no. This list is very subjective. I feel like the slightly chubby looks, along with the masculine features back in his heyday, really proved to sway the ladies. I guess he did look pretty nice. A fine contender compared to me. Now let's go to Jeffrey Epstein, and the main character himself. And back in his heyday, back in his prime, he did still look like a creep. I'm not gonna lie. He looks like the AI generated version of a creep. But overall, since he's tall, so I'm gonna put him over here in the mid category. All right, and now we have the reverse Ariana Grande himself, Michael Jackson. And before he bleached himself and after he bleached himself, they're both pretty good contenders for what I would consider their prime. But overall, I'm gonna keep it to the dark skin version of him, and comparing him to me, I'm gonna say he looks better than me. All right, I like some of his childlike yet masculine features. You kind of see in 1984, 1985, and stuff like that. His thriller arc, especially with how he looked with the fashion he carried himself with. They convey a lot of confidence. They convey a lot of aura, and they convey a lot of masculinity. And I like that. But I wouldn't put him in W eugenics due to the fact that he is not, breaking that barrier as of yet. You know what I'm saying? There are still kind of drawbacks. Again, like the kid-like features we see in his off-the-wall arc. All right. I feel like that kind of draws him back. But anywho, let's move on to this guy. Who is this guy? All right. So next, all right. So his name is apparently David Copperfield. And as a magician, how do you magically land yourself on the Epstein list? I don't get it. But anywho, he does look like a creepier version of Morrissey. But since it is Morrissey, I'm gonna put him in baseline attractive. But just a bit lower. All right, just a bit lower, a bit on the lower side, not on like the higher verge, due to the fact that again, he does look like a creep. All right. Next, we have the Stephen Hawking himself, the legend himself. And I'm not going to slide him too much. He does have a disability, but I'm going to be perfectly honest. Hi, Chuz. Hi, Chuz. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Even in his prime, I don't feel like even without the disability, he would, pass the baseline attractive barrier. He would have to, put a lot of years of looks maxing. All right, to kind of break the barrier and get to hey, you look really good type of tier. But again, on top of that, he was short to what I believe. So yeah, kind of puts him over here, and I'm really sorry, extremely sorry. Next, we have the famous vice president himself, Al Gore. I really like that name. I feel like it's a fine name to give someone. You know what I'm saying? A really fine nickname, and a masculine, commanding nickname, and I love it for him. But other than that, you know, I feel like his masculine features, along with how friendly he does look, would attract a lot of women. And I feel like just because of that, I would put him slightly a bit below me. Actually, no, above me, due to the fact that he can grow a beard, and I can't. Next, we have I think his name is. Let me think for a second. His name is Thomas Freiser. I kind of forgot it, but it does rhyme with Pulitzer. But yeah, back in his heyday, back in the '90s, you know what I'm saying? Again, not really delivering much, but he does look like a nice guy. But overall, he is a definition of mid. Next, we have Frederick Rakai. I think I'm butchering that last name, but overall, I feel like he's a pretty handsome man. But the only thing that draws him back is the kind of zesty features. If you look at some of the photos of him, his lips are like it's just pungent. Just staring you right in the eye. You know what I'm saying? He does have that gay type of look, but the thing is, it wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't that appearance. So based on that, I'm gonna have to put him, I guess still not slightly above me. I'm sorry. I don't think a lot of people would kind of find those lips attractive, but yes, he is a handsome man. Next, we have Ehud Barak, and I just now learned that he was an Israelite. Does that affect how I rate him? No, I'm going to keep this as fair and unbiased as possible again. But the thing is, back in his heyday, he looked a bit masculine, but I don't think he would fit the threshold. He is still baseline attractive. All right. Next, we have Alan Dershowitz, and before I put him in the baseline attractive tier, kind of lower than these guys over here, I want to show you guys a photo. All right, look at this photo over here. Whoa. All right, look at this photo. He looks really swaggy, and I feel like this photo is very, very underrated. You know what I'm saying? This guy just like oozes kind of like an energy where he's like, unbothered. You know what I'm saying? He does look like in a very, very, very off-brand, kind of Iraqi Timothy Chalamet. And, I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, going back to our list, he is a baseline attractive. Next, we have George Lucas, the creator of the Indiana Jones series, and for what I expected, he does look pretty nice. He does look like if I combined all the faces of the Beach Boys with AI. But other than that, he still looked pretty good back in his heydays, the 70s, and I'll put him high baseline attractive. I don't feel like he's pushing that barrier yet due to the fact that maybe his beard is just carrying him. But I don't like the way the beard is shaped on his face. When I saw the photos, but other than that, I would have put it in. Hey, you looked good. A little bit of looks maxing and exercise. Kind of would elevate him to a certain extent. Next, we had that one underage girl that Jeffrey and I think his wife took in. I don't know if I should be ranking this, and I don't know if this should be safe. So I'm just gonna put this in a void. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is the void tier, and I'm going to put this woman over here. Next, we have Glenn Dubin, an American philanthropist that somehow became a millionaire and billionaire. I'm sorry, but I couldn't find any photos of him in his prime. So based on what we have now, I don't think the hairline is really saving him. Honestly, he does look old again, so that's kind of a nerve. So I'm just gonna put him in mid, maybe below Epstein. Next, we have America's very own Leonardo DiCaprio, the Wolf on Wall Street. He's the guy. He's the guy on Titanic, guys. He was the poster boy of looksmaxxing. So honestly, based off that, put him up here. And why is it called genetics? Next, we have Kate Blanchett, and I don't know if it's just me, but I believe that she looked way better when she was older. So I'm gonna consider that photo as her prime. So where I would put her above me. I'm sorry. She looks really, really good. I probably would put her above Michael Jackson, but if it wasn't for his, whole 1984 phase, the whole Thriller phase, she would be above him. Next, we have Cameron Diaz, and I don't know if I've ever seen a woman that looked creepier, but she does still look good. And again, I put her above me, right over here. Or actually, no, not above not above my Al Gore, but right here. Next, we have Bruce Willis, and I'm sorry for the aphasia that he reportedly had at this time of he was taking this photo. But other than that, back in his heyday, he looked pretty good, like a funny type of handsome, and I kind of appreciate that. But would I put him above me? No, but would I put him above Trump? Yes. Yes. All right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we have Marvin Minsky, the poster boy of AI propagation. Boo. But other than that, in his prime. Let me show you guys a photo. This guy, I think he was in his prime back here. I think he was studying for a PhD or something. I don't know, but based off what we see over here, he looks like a decent guy. He gets around. He's a masculine type attractive, but I wouldn't put him anywhere above me. I still would put him a baseline attractive, probably below. You know, this guy. I forgot his name. I'm really sorry. Next, we have the French stylist Jean-Luc Brunel, and I'm gonna be honest, he looks like what I think every murderer in the United States currently looks like, all 200 of them. So I'm gonna have to put. He is still kind of attractive, but I bet not as attractive to fit baseline, but just enough to like breach the barrier compared to these guys over here. Next we have Bill Richardson, and based off what I seen from his prime, he looks like a happy chubby guy, nothing to be scared of, just living life to the fullest, as a man should. But where would I put him in the scale of the harsh scale of attractiveness? I'm so sorry, but I'd have to put him somewhere in the middle over here, probably above him, since he looks a bit more jolly and more lively or full of life. You know what I'm saying? Next, we have Naomi Campbell. She's a model. I'm sorry, just slightly above me. Honestly, I was so close to making a point. I was super close to making a point. Sorry. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm extremely sorry, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry on your behalf. I'm really sorry. I'm I mean, you, actually spasm over. This is kind of a double check. I feel like she still is kind of, I think, slightly below. But the thing is, they're like two sides of the same coin. All right, I just want you to think of them as that. An 8.75 and an 8.74. All right, something like that. Next, we have Bill Clinton. He looks decent. He looks pretty nice. Um, he was a gooner in office, but he didn't look it. At least, I'm sorry, but I believe there's no way to determine what a gooner looks like. All right, there is no definitive gooner look in anyone. So forget my point. Bill Clinton, he is kind of attractive. He looks pretty nice. Not above Trump. He is baseline attractive. He fits the threshold. Okay, kind of above him. Wait, perfect. Next we have, I think that's Harvey Weinstein. Apologize for that. Next we have Kevin Spacey, and although he looked really nice in his heyday, I feel like the hairline was kind of pushing him back a bit, literally. But yeah, where I would put him, not above Trump. He is the baseline attractive. All right, probably over here. All right, I'll give him that. Actually, no, never mind. No, no, no. Next we have, yeah, that's Donald Trump. Next we have this man over here. I forgot his name. He's a comedian. I think methinks. Next we have Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker's a great looking guy. I feel like he's a better looking black man than me. So I'm gonna have to put him, you know, uh, Al Gore, above Al Gore. Yes, above Al Gore. All right. And next we have Bill Gates. He is the primitive definition of a nerd. If you saw some of his photos back in the day, but doesn't slight him that bad. I'd say he's baseline. I'd say he's like low baseline, just somewhere over this guy. I'm happy with that. Next we have Joe Biden. I was expecting better. I was expecting better. I was expecting way more from our former president, of the highest prestige, but unfortunately, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Next, we have Cher. All right. Yes, Cher was apparently on Epstein Island, and the only reason why I put her here is because she's Cher. And where I would put her, I'd probably put her a bit above Michael Jackson. Probably W. Jennings. She's a good looking person. Really good looking person. Next we have Mick Jagger himself, the fourth, the one of the founding fathers of the Rolling Stones. Okay, yeah, decent looking guy, but the lips again. It's a case with this guy, but the lips throw me off like crazy. So I'm gonna have to put him top baseline attractive, just the top, just a tip. And last but not least, just for fun and just to slight him, Jay Z. All right, Jay Z, my man. I'm sorry, this is low mid. He has so many different facial features on his face working at once, literally messing with my mind. All right, I feel like him with the longer hair looked really good, but other than that, all right, let's be serious with let's be. Actually, he does look better than Jeffrey Epstein, but let's be serious with ourselves. Let's be serious with ourselves. Let's be serious, okay? But and also, what I mean by mid, maybe I shouldn't have called this mid. More like, I guess sub five. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I should have called this sub five the whole time.